Good morning and welcome to Daybreak Live. This is the big story, where we bring to light the present issues shaping our nation's realities. Today we turn our attention to a deeply troubling matter, and that is insecurity in Nigeria, with particular focus on the recent wave of killings in Benue and Plateau states. These are not just statistics, they are lives lost, families shattered, communities displaced, and future cut short. Samson Balogun is my name. Now, insecurity has become a haunting refrain in the daily lives of many Nigerians, especially in the north-central region, Benue and Plateau. Once known for the agrarian wealth and cultural richness, are now frequently in the headlines for the wrong reasons. Violent attacks, armed invasions, and gruesome killings. From questions around land disputes to ethnic and religious tensions. And this inability of security agencies to act swiftly. The crisis continues to deepen. Today we seek answers. What is fueling these attacks? Why has it become difficult to forestall them? What is the government doing or failing to do? We'll speak with experts, community leaders, and concerned citizens to unravel this grim reality. Because if peace eludes one part of Nigeria, then no part is truly safe. Good morning once again, and welcome to the big story. Nigeria is a country blessed with natural resources. Benue State, known as the food basket of the nation, has been ravaged with insecurity over time, be it religious, ethnic, border crisis. It has gone on and on. What is the cause of this problem? What is the government doing, or what the government has failed to do over time? On this show, The Big Story, this morning, we'll take a deep look into this crisis, and then we'll provide solutions for the government. We're going to take a critical look at something different this morning. But of course, before we do that, and before I bring my guest on board, let's go for this report. And when we return, the big story continues on Daybreak Live, Dominion Television. We'll be back.
In recent weeks, a fresh wave of attacks by suspected armed militias and bandits in Benue and Plateau states have left dozens dead and many more injured as entire communities have been razed. And thousands of residents are fleeing in fear as insecurity tightens its grip on the region. From Makode to Mango and spread across Nigeria, the stories are similar. The response from Nigerians has been swift and fierce.
The killing in Benue and Taraba is becoming alarming, that the entire world is now focusing on Nigeria. The lives of people taken away every day is such that if we are not careful, it will roll down to other states. After all, we may not have the opportunity to accommodate those who will be displaced as a result of this particular incident.
Security in Nigeria is very poor, very, very poor. We need help of government and help of God. First of all is help of God. Our sin is too much for this Nigeria in particular. If we want to government to find solution for us for killing, it's not only Plateau and Benue State, it's all over Nigeria.
It's what we told the government, we let the government know that government is doing to us. But at the same time too, the government self, they don't have the human feeling. If you have a good heart, before you get there, or immediately you get there, I've never seen the person. Everything will change about the person. So by killing people over there, I can say, let me say 50-50. Government take the 50, while the masses, we that we call ourselves government, we take 50.
It's sad, it's worrisome that Nigerians' lives are of no value to this current leadership, and we are concerned as ordinary Nigerians. We're really concerned. We hope that they wake up to this responsibility to provide security for people. I mean, what's happening in Benue, for instance, is worrisome. Is a call for emergency. Is a call for emergency. If we need to do anything as a leader, as a people, now we need to do it very quick before it turns to chaotic.
On social media and in protest marches, citizens are calling on the federal government to act decisively, while many are questioning the effectiveness of Nigerian security architecture.
The security are already overstretched. Until we have a strong judiciary and a political will to arrest those who are perpetuating this evil and deal with them. Just imagine that no single person has been arrested and dealt with since 2015. So there's nothing anybody is saying that's making sense to an average, to me as a person, as a Nigerian. Until we see you, arrest them, prosecute them. You can't tell us you don't know Mietiala, you know them.
As he cannot do it, he should Kuku resign. The Tinubu, our president. The Tinubu tenor is too much. Killing is too much. If he know that he will not do it, he should Kuku resign. May they not kill us finish for Nigeria.
As at now, we should have had a state of emergency in both Taraba and Plateau states, and the presidency focusing and making sure that the people behind the camera in Plateau state, making the people there going down the 6 feet down every now and then, are investigated and brought to book.
Despite repeated assurances from the presidency and the defense headquarters, the attack continues, and Nigerians are calling for a total overhaul of Nigerian security apparatus, including better funding, local intelligence collaboration, and the possible deployment of special forces to hotspot regions. As pressure mounts, the question remains how many more must die before Nigeria wakes up to stop this bloodshed. I know Grace, Dominion News.
That was I know Grace. The question is, how many more must die before the government does something? Have you seen footages from Benue and Plateau states? Have you seen pictures from Benue and Plateau states? It's a gory sight. There are pictures, there are footages you wouldn't want to see again. This is Nigeria. The people are complaining. The people are calling on the government to put an end to insecurity in the country. But then, eventually, the people are calling on God to do what is ordinarily meant to be done by man. When will this end? When will Nigeria get it right in terms of security? People are calling for the resignation of the president. You saw the footages yourself. When will Nigeria get it right? A quick rundown of the security architecture in Nigeria, and of course the security apparatus. Nigeria is blessed with men and women of intelligence. But how did you get it right and wrong when it comes to intelligence gathering? Don't forget, the Nigeria Army, the Nigeria Police, NSCDC, the Nigeria Immigration, the Customs Service. Yes, even with all this, some states are still bearing the brunt of what some call the ineffectiveness of governance. Which way? Nigeria. Now, if the people are calling for the resignation of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, then the question is, when did insecurity start in those areas, in that part of the country? I'm sure it did not start 2 years ago. 2013. No, it started way before then. It is not peculiar. Insecurity is not peculiar to Benue and Plateau states. Insecurity in Nigeria is everywhere. There are kidnappings in the southwest. Yes. Family crisis in the southwest. Same is happening in the south and the southeast. Have you heard about the killings in the northeast, in the northwest, north central, everywhere? When will Nigeria be able to put this bloodbath to an end? Good morning once again. This is the big story. Joining me live from the United Kingdom this morning is Mr. Ayoadedoyin. He's the CEO, PSD UK. PSD UK is a non-profit organization that seeks to promote peace building, social justice, and sustainable development in Nigeria and other parts of the world. PSD engages and organizes a global network of partners to act as a voice for marginalized communities and to create a model for active community advocacy for minority groups. PSD UK is dedicated to promoting peace, social justice, and human rights in Nigeria. Good morning to you, Mr. Ayoadedoyin. Good morning. I hope you can hear me clearly. Good morning, Mr. Ayoadedoyin. Looks like the network is not that clear. We are going to get it right on this show, and there's a lot to talk about. When we talk about advocacy, when we talk about sensitization, and of course, when it comes to teaching the people on how to speak up, there are people who have made it their responsibilities to make sure that Nigerians are able to say what it is, say it as it is, as regards what is happening in their communities and of course what is happening to them. Most Nigerians are moving away from their communities. They are migrating. Of course, you can't say you cannot stop urban rural migration or rural urban migration. But of course, there are so many things that should be done. Mr. Ayoadedoyin is online from the United Kingdom. He's the CEO, PSD United Kingdom. Good morning to you, Mr. Ayoadedoyin. Hello. Good morning to you. Okay. We'll keep trying until we get it right. Now, we'll talk about roles and the mandate of PSD UK on this show, and the series of meetings they have had with the governor of Plateau State and the stakeholders when it comes to security in the country. And at what pace do they intend to work so they can get it right? Good morning, Mr. Ayoadedoyin. Hello. Okay. Now, we'll talk about how PSD UK has been involved as regards sensitization in Benue and Plateau State and other parts of the country, especially around the world, because they are not limited to Nigeria alone. This is a body that has made it their responsibility to make sure that the world sees what is going on. This is a body that has made sure that they bring relief to the people of Benue State. The recent attack, there has been protests. And then there are questions as regards the competence of governance or government in that part of the country. If that is to go by, the president has promised to visit Benue State tomorrow, cancelling scheduled arrangements. But then the people are asking questions. Is it necessary for the president to be in Benue State before the security apparatus in that state can forestall insecurity? Tinubu to visit Benue tomorrow. IGP deploys tactical team. Where was the tactical team before now? Now, the insider, there's a rider. You can check that story on the Blueprint newspaper because we are using this to corroborate the fact on this show. Tinubu visits Benue State tomorrow. IGP deploys tactical teams. All right, Mr. Ayoadedoyin, good morning to you. Okay, now, Good to have you on the show this morning.
Thank you.
All right. You are the CEO of PSG UK, and your body, the organization, has been doing so much for the people of Benue, Plateau, and other parts of the country where they have had security challenges. Now, could you briefly explain the role of your organization in amplifying the voices of marginalized communities affected by insecurity in Nigeria and beyond?
Yes, thank you. Good morning. The PSJ UK is primarily seeking to mobilize the massive Nigerian diaspora to contribute our voices to these issues that you are discussing. We're recognizing the fact that the people in these marginalized communities are truly voiceless. And it is only occasionally that these things hit the headlines. Some of the challenges that you are seeing that have hit the headlines this morning, this couple of days in Benue State, has been happening quite regularly. But it is only because it has hit the headline that, like you said, IGP is deploying tactical team. The president is visiting Benue. So is he going to visit Plateau tomorrow? Is he going to visit another part of the Middle Belt or the Northeast or the Northwest every single day for there to be a resolution? No, this requires all of us. We have to raise our voices collectively. Both Nigerians, friends of Nigeria. The first responsibility of any government, whether it's federal government or state government, is to protect its people. And if the government cannot do that, then it should cease to be the government. Let people who can protect people rise up and take that role. And if the government is for the people, then the people have to demand that, no, we want to be alive, whether in the rural parts of Benue, Plateau, or anywhere else, or even in the urban parts. It's nice and easy to sit in a place and feel comfortable that, oh, something is happening somewhere else, as though that thing is not creeping closer and closer towards where you are. So PSJ UK is saying that Nigerians abroad also have to add their voice to this discourse.
Okay, now, how has PSJ UK been involved in recent cases of violence in Plateau and Benue State, especially on the recent killing, the massacre that happened a few days ago?
Well, first thing to note is that we have a network of representatives in the grassroots across these states, across various states of Nigeria. So we're not necessarily dependent or relying on information that comes from government sources, or indeed that comes from the media headlines, because they are not necessarily all accurate. And what we're saying is, or what we're doing, is taking that information that we are receiving from the grassroots and using it to engage the apparatus of state, the powers that be, but also using it to inform ourselves so that we are targeting our interventions appropriately. In addition to that, we're also recognizing that we have a role to play in providing succor to people who are affected by this crisis. And so we do the little that we can. Unfortunately, the crisis is running and outpacing our little efforts. So we're looking to strengthen our efforts so that we can have greater impact.
Okay, and now, from your engagement with these communities, how would you assess the government's response to their plight?
Not very excited about the government's response, because I'm not fully aware of the government's response. The strategic comms around what is happening or not happening is not great. It's only because the young people poured out onto the roads, blocked the roads between Makurdi and Naka, that all of a sudden you are having the president cancelling his schedule. What really should happen is that there should be regular briefings, not saying that you should divulge sensitive information that should not be in the public domain, but there is information that needs to be given to ensure that the people remain assured, remain calm, know that things are being tackled and dealt with appropriately. What we're seeing is a lot of reaction, reactive. It almost seems as though we're not a police force, or we don't have a police force, we have a reaction force. Something has happened, then we came, then we're issuing statements, we're issuing threats. What really should happen is the government should treat this as a war and take appropriate action and measures as a war. 200 people killed in Benue State, much more than the number of people that were killed in the current ongoing conflict between Israel and Iran, where fighter jets, ballistic missiles are involved. The number of casualties is nowhere near the swathes of people that are being wasted all over our land. And so the response of government is far from adequate, in my opinion.
All right, what major policy gap have you identified in how insecurity is being handled in relation to minority communities in the country?
Well, I mean, the first thing to say is that this thing is much more than just minority community. Yes, it is. The attacks are predominantly on rural populations, but like I said, that is inching closer and closer. So if we continue to look at it as something that is happening to some minorities somewhere, we're not giving it the appropriate amount of attention. But the policy changes that are required are some of the things I've mentioned. Much better strategic comms coming out of our governments at state level, at central level. Creating a proper war footing is particularly important. Talking about the middle belt being the food basket of Nigeria, policy intervention should include how is it that we're not going to have all of our farmers displaced into urban centers looking for handouts when they should be farming to feed the nation. So these are the sorts of areas that we are particularly advocating on from a policy perspective.
All right, how you have engaged these people, you know what exactly is going on in Benue State as we speak. And then I want to ask you, how are they coping or resisting the current wave of displacement in that part of the country?
Not adequately, because they're not being resolved. Because as a people, we are not really providing as much assistance to our fellow human beings. So, of course, they're doing the best that they can, moving from one place to the other, but the level of help and resistance, the intervention from the state emergency or indeed the federal national emergency is woefully inadequate. We're leaving human beings to their own fate, and it most certainly is not good enough. Like I said, the hallmarks of a decent society is how we look after fellow human beings. The amount of support for these IDPs is ridiculous.
All right. Talking about advocacy in that part of the country, which is what you do predominantly, I want to talk about recently, protesters came out and then the way they were dispersed by the police force. How do you cope as regards advocacy in that part of the country? And of course, what reports do you have about people going out there to sensitize the people as regards the current situation and how to navigate around it?
Yeah, the reaction of the police of somehow or the other finding themselves in numbers and being available to disperse protesters and protest crowds, the optics of it is terrible. The police should really be strategically creating an enclave and protecting the people. When they come out to protest, we should be supporting them to raise their voice in a peaceful manner. But in terms of the advocacy, we need to even notch up the volume of our voices. It's not just about some people carrying tree branches and protesting on the roads. The various forms of advocacy, like you are doing right now with the media, is very important. We need to ensure that this becomes a priority topic. And that's one of the things that PSJ UK is committed to. We recognize that we live in a global village now. We recognize that what happens in one part of the nation or one part of the world affects people and activities elsewhere. Even the war in Iran and Israel right now is affecting us in Nigeria, is affecting us in Europe. And so our advocacy is to push the case that peace is so much better than war. These attacks, by whatever name we choose to call it, certainly terrorism, must not be allowed for a nation that is growing and seeks to take his place as a leader in economic prosperity. For the benefit of our teeming young people, we really do need to do a lot more.
Okay, now, talking about the current situation, and over time, it hasn't really been clear if perpetrators of any of these heinous acts have been brought to book. Now, how does lack of accountability affect trust in the system?
It totally eradicates it. The impunity, the absence of the rule of law, the absence of justice totally eradicates that trust. And it's unfortunate that we've not quite learned how to use our collective voices progressively. Because the same cycle just keeps coming round and around. And then we're going to hit another election cycle. People are going to give us Indomie and supposed stomach infrastructure. Well, if you're not alive, you're not going to have the stomach to receive the infrastructure. So this cycle is carrying on, and we really have to come together as a collective to stop it.
All right, what kind of platforms or channels exist for these marginalized groups to voice their pain and influence decision making? I mean, that PSG has provided for them, PSG UK.
Yeah, I mean, the PSG UK has actually provided a platform for people to be able to share their stories via our website. But I assure you that it's not the person who is being attacked and macheted, burnt in their houses, that their first priority is, oh, how do I know? How do I find your TV channel? How do I know where your platform is to go and raise my voice? And so what we're beginning to do is send our grassroots networks to go to the people, capture the realities of their stories. It is only the reality that helps us to unsear our hearts. Because unfortunately, as Nigerians, our hearts have been seared. Yes, I understand there's a lot of things happening all over the place, and there's hunger and everything happening all together. But unfortunately, it has meant that our hearts have been seared. But what we have to do is we have to strengthen our numbers, go to where the people are, provide them shelter, provide them succor, provide them enclave, help them to capture their stories so that the rest of the nation and the rest of the world can really, really understand the magnitude of what is going on here. And PSJ is beginning to do more of that, but we will be able to do it all the more when people come on board, lend their skills, lend their talents, lend their abilities to join this effort. We cannot just sit down and be waiting that, oh, some government somewhere is going to figure out exactly what's going to happen. Who is the government? Is it not the same us? It's the same people that form the government. So you, wherever you are, need to ask yourself, what is it that you can do? And we would invite you, come and get involved. Sign up on our website, www.psjuk.org. We're certainly speaking to those who are in the diaspora, in the UK particularly, and asking you to get involved. But at the same time, we're also speaking to Nigerians in Nigeria. I think we have lots of Nigerians who are based in Nigeria who are working for peace and social justice off our platforms. So we're inviting people to sign up, get involved. Together, we are so much stronger.
All right, before we wrap up this segment on the show, I want to ask you this. The last administration under President Muhammadu Buhari then introduced a policy where repentant bandits were rehabilitated and reintegrated back into the society. What's your take on this?
Well, I mean, the general concept of forgiveness, repentance, reintegration, most certainly is a concept you would expect as a pastor that I'm fully aligned with. However, it must not be a shooting of ourselves in the foot. How repentant are they? How strong is our reintegration practices and processes and programs? In a scenario where you have truly de-radicalized people who really did not have a choice but get involved in these programs, where that is happening, in principle, it has sense. But if you were to ask me directly, how much confidence do I have in the program that we have deployed so far? I would say zero confidence. I somehow suspect that we are wasting money in supposed de-radicalization programs and recycling the same people back into doing more radical atrocities. Because otherwise, back to my statement on strategic comms, the fruits and benefits of these DDR programs really should have been presented to us by now.
Okay, now let me ask you this before we go. Basically, your advice for the federal government and state governments in these affected areas and the people of Benue and Plateau State, people of, who have been affected by insecurity in the country on how to navigate through this tough time?
Well, the people of Ukraine know that they are at war and they are responding appropriately. The people of Gaza, the people of Israel, the people in the Middle East, they understand that they are on a war footing and are taking the appropriate actions, whichever side of the fence they are. My advice to the federal government is to understand that we are at war for the future of our nation. And for any government that is genuinely interested in the life and livelihoods and welfare of its people, the government must rise up, put the nation on a war footing against insecurity, injustice, impunity, instability, and lack of peace. Only then shall we be able to move towards economic prosperity, which we all desire as well.
Thank you for being a part of the show this morning. Good to have you.
Thank you very much for having me on.
We do hope next time we'll call you to discuss further on this topic. You'll be here.
Many thanks.
Thank you so much. All right, I have had with me on the show this morning Ayo Adedoyin, the CEO, PSG UK. PSG UK is a non-profit organization that seeks to promote peace building, social justice and sustainable development in Nigeria and other parts of the world. PSG engages and organizes a global network of partners to act as a voice for marginalized communities and create a model for active community advocacy for minority groups. They are dedicated to promoting peace, social justice, and human rights in Nigeria. All right, and that brings us to the end of this segment of the show this morning. As we wrap up this edition of The Big Story, the question remains, how many more must die before something changes? Benue, Plateau, and other parts of the country ravaged by insecurity deserves more than temporary outrage. They deserve consistent action, protection, and justice. The road to a secure Nigeria is long, but it must begin with courage to confront the truth and the will to act. Thank you for joining us on The Big Story this morning. I am Sam Sibalogo, and this is Daybreak Live. Stay safe and stay informed. The show continues. Now, we are straight to our sport desk as Boluwaji Ogumola is waiting.